Second thing I'd like to share is about scripture and science is this. It's based on Psalms chapter 8 verses 3 to 5. And let me read. When I consider your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars, which you have set in place, what is mankind that you are mindful of them? Human beings that you care for them. You made them a little lower than the angels and crowned them with glory and honor. Now, whenever I read Psalms 8, I get a sense that the psalmist is saying that whenever he looks at creation, particularly the moon, the stars, and the things, the heavens, he's just amazed, and maybe humbled. Why seemingly God has given man a very special place among all his creation. And that's why the psalmist took note of this. He says, what is mankind that you are mindful of them? Human beings that you care for them. You have made them a little lower than the angels and crowned them with glory, honor. Now, this whole idea of man being special, or that in general, earth having a special place, because man is on earth. Therefore, it seemed like the way God created our world is just, it's a very special thing when compared with the rest of the creation, considering all the stars and the heavenly bodies, the planets, and all the galaxies and everything. What is this picture? This picture is a picture taken by satellite when they were traveling across space. And from afar, they saw this thing, this actually is a stream of light coming from the sun across space. And the pale blue thing, this one, is actually Earth. This pale blue circle or dot is Earth. And when you think about that, it seemed like it's just placed so right, in a special location. And people began to think about this, that Earth must be so privileged, so special. And why is that? Now, in science, they have come up with a phenomenon called the finely tuned universe. Now, what is this finely tuned universe concept? It's the idea that all the constants now in the universe have been finely tuned or adjusted so that life can exist on Earth. Now, much like this picture, all the instruments that you find in an orchestra, they have been carefully selected, tuned, finely tuned, or they have been set so that the entire orchestra will come up with a grand music, a special music. Same thing. It seemed like God must have placed Earth on such a very special place in the universe so that life can exist. Let's watch this short video.
From galaxies and stars, down to atoms and subatomic particles, the very structure of our universe is determined by these numbers. These are the fundamental constants and quantities of the universe. Scientists have come to the shocking realization that each of these numbers has been carefully dialed to an astonishingly precise value, a value that falls within an exceedingly narrow, life-permitting range. If any one of these numbers were altered by even a hair's breadth, no physical, interactive life of any kind could exist anywhere. There'd be no stars, no life, no planets, no chemistry. Consider gravity, for example. The force of gravity is determined by the gravitational constant. If this constant varied by just 1 in 10 to the 60th parts, none of us would exist. To understand how exceedingly narrow this life-permitting range is, imagine a dial divided into 10 to the 60th increments. To get a handle on how many tiny points on the dial this is, compare it to the number of cells in your body, or the number of seconds that have ticked by since time began. If the gravitational constant had been out of tune by just one of these infinitesimally small increments, the universe would either have expanded and thinned out so rapidly that no stars could form and life couldn't exist, or it would have collapsed back on itself with the same result: no stars, no planets, and no life. Or consider the expansion rate of the universe. This is driven by the cosmological constant. A change in its value by a mere 1 part in 10 to the 120th parts would cause the universe to expand too rapidly or too slowly. In either case, the universe would, again, be life-prohibiting. Or another example of fine-tuning. If the mass and energy of the early universe were not evenly distributed to an incomprehensible precision of 1 part in 10 to the 10 to the 123rd, the universe would be hostile to life of any kind. The fact is, our universe permits physical, interactive life only because these, and many other numbers, have been independently and exquisitely balanced on a razor's edge. Wherever physicists look, they see examples of fine-tuning. The remarkable fact is that the values of these numbers seem to have been very finely adjusted to make possible the development of life. If anyone claims not to be surprised by the special features that the universe has, he's hiding his head in the sand. These special features are surprising and unlikely.
Yes. So what this video is just reminding us that God carefully fine-tuned everything in there so that life can exist. God, being the ultimate designer and creator of the entire universe and life itself, was able to come up with all the right things. This same principle of that everything in the universe is finely adjusted, the fine-tuning of the universe, that seemingly the way God created the universe and everything around us is such that it will sustain life, is the same subject of a video called The Privileged Planet. That there are so many things that had to be adjusted in such a way that life can exist. On 21% of oxygen in air is just right for human life. Number 2, gravitational forces is perfect for life to exist. Number 3, distance from the sun provides the right heat for life. Expansion rate of the universe is just right for life. Number 5, the thickness of the Earth's crust is just the correct amount for life. And then the way the Earth is tilted, number 6, offers the best condition for life. And there are many more of this. The thing is, what we're seeing is that there is just this uncanny, or shall we say mysterious manner by which all these things have been arranged. Of course, scientists will not say there is a God. No, they would just say there must be a grand designer, the ultimate designer of all these things, because the statistical probability of all these things falling into place is so huge, and that's why they're saying there must be an intelligent designer. But of course, they won't say it God, but of course, to us Christians, we would say, yeah, of course, because our God is a God of knowledge. He is the source of all things. So, to summarize, according to Scripture, God created man and the world around him in a very special and purposeful manner. Science says that the universe is finely tuned for life. So here we see the way Scripture and science seem to be coherent, agreeing, with each other. It's as if science is saying, yeah, the way God created the world is just right, in a very special and purposeful manner. Now, according to Fred Hoyle, who is an astrophysicist and also an atheist, he says, a super intellect has monkeyed with physics as well as with chemistry and biology. Now, this is referring to the fine-tuning of the universe. Of course, Stephen Hawking, many of you know this, a movie was done based on his life. He is a famous atheist cosmologist. The remarkable fact is that the values of these numbers referring to the fine-tuning numbers, seem to have been very finely adjusted to make possible the development of life. Again, he will not say or attribute this to God, but possibly an intelligent designer. Finally, Paul Davies, another agnostic physicist and astrobiologist, says, "There is for me powerful evidence that there is something going on behind all these things. It seems as though somebody," again, he would not attribute it to God, "somebody has fine-tuned nature's numbers to make the universe. The impression of design is overwhelming." Now, going back to this picture, now this pale blue planet picture reminds us that the Lord or God, the Creator, just placed Earth, at just the right position so that all these cosmological constants, we call them, are finely tuned in order for life to exist. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that amazing that God would put us in a very special spot in the entire universe, so that life can exist? And that's why when I read Psalms 8, verses 3 to 5, and with the background, the science background of the fine tuning of the universe, I am all the more amazed because we know that we have a God who designed everything, everything for us because we are special to Him. Now, everything has been set or adjusted just for us because He thinks of us special. And let me read again the verse. "When I consider your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars, which you have set in place, what is mankind that you are mindful of them? Human beings that you care for them. You have made them a little lower than the angels and crowned them with glory and honor.